Welcome to Flourish, where we explore how to nurture, coach, and inspire children for success and let their genius blossom. I'm your host, Diane Planadin, and today's episode is all about the secret to success. And it may surprise you how simple it is and also what it's not. It is not an app. It is not a program. It is not a class or even anything you can buy. It is something you already possess that we all are born with. And it's also a scientific fact, one that I wish I knew years ago. The secret to success, it's in 3 parts. It's how our brains really work. It's in knowing you have a choice. And the secret that I use, well, it's as simple as being able to count. So let's get started. I'm excited because the reason I wanted to speak to you today about this is I'm hearing so many stories across the globe, across our beautiful planet, about people really struggling with mental health, really struggling about this unfamiliar situation everybody's in. Everybody is in the same situation. So I wanted to give you some ideas on the power that Mother Nature has given us all in order to cope with this unfamiliar, unprecedented situation. This is not, though, a new idea. It is a more recent development in neuroscience, but it's been around long enough that we should all know about it. And I recently dug into the archives and found a fantastic TED Talk. Actually, it was a TEDx youth talk by Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor, and she discusses in depth about the secret. She also wrote a book about it, so I'm going to quote her quite a bit today in this episode. I'm going to begin by telling you a little excerpt from her book. When a person has a reaction to something in their environment, there's a 90-second chemical process that happens in the body. After that, any remaining emotional response is just the person choosing to stay in an emotional loop. What? We really do that? Do we really do that? Wow. Well, she goes on to say, something happens in the external world and chemicals are flushed through your body. And it puts you on full alert. For those chemicals to totally flush out of the body, it takes less than 90 seconds. This means that for 90 seconds, you can actually watch the process happening. You can feel it happening. And then you can watch it, feel it, go away. After that, after those 90 seconds, if you continue to feel anger, for example, you need to look at the thoughts you're thinking that are re-stimulating the circuitry that is resulting in you having this psychological response over and over and over again. And when I read this, and I actually thought about it, it completely made sense. I thought, that'd be like a hamster never getting off his wheel, just going around and around and around the hamster wheel and never getting off when you dig in and you hold into something. And she is one neuroscientist, brain doctor that I've heard and read about. There are numerous studies on this. Even meditation coaches talk about this. And I wanted to speak to this because of what's going on in our unfamiliar planet right now. And understand that your brain can effectively rid itself of heated emotions like fear, like anger, as long as you don't interrupt those thoughts again. What do I mean by this? How does this apply to you? How does this apply to anyone? Well, being a mom, I'm going to give you one simple example, but there's probably thousands and thousands of examples of things you may have already learned, like I did, through hindsight. When my son Nicholas was about 1.5 years old, we had a very fancy, posh party for my dad's 70th birthday, a true milestone that we thought, yes, let's have a black tie event. Let's go to the beautiful Fairmont Palliser Hotel in Calgary and just get all the glam and the glitter and celebration and enjoy ourselves and the wonder it is. So here we are. And we arrived early as a family in order to have a whole bunch of different pictures taken and, momentous occasion. And Nicholas was, how do I say, not loving the idea of sitting still and being in a tiny little outfit with a tiny little tie or bow tie. And he's just like, So he decided to voice his opinion on what was going on there today. So the family took a mini break. We did. And during that mini break, I decided that we really wanted to have some nice photos. So let's get Nicholas to just relax and expound some energy. And we danced and we danced and we danced in circles, him and I, just around and around and around. And we were just all giggly and having fun and having smiles. So he literally transformed himself due to this distraction, got it off his mind, and the end result is the most beautiful photo the photographer captured that evening, which I treasure and love because it reminds me of that special time. It also reminds me that you can change your mind. But I didn't know it at the time. I didn't. I think I was just lucky. And the way that Dr. Taylor explains this in her TEDx Youth Talk from 2013 is the neuroscience of what happened during that little dance of ours. It was probably 2 to 3 minutes, and she discusses the neurogenesis, our ability to grow new neurons, especially in a response to trauma or anger or fear or just frustration. She also discussed neuroplasticity. I love that. The ability of our brains to rearrange. Who are they communicating with? She goes on to say what this means is that the brain you wake up with every morning is not the same brain that you take home with you at night or go to bed at night. It's because we're capable of mindfulness. Mindfulness is our ability to observe the neurocircuitry we are running inside of our heads. Most of what I'm going to tell you in the next few minutes are quotes from her. But I would encourage you to view the entire TEDx talk, TEDx Youth Talk, because it's really quite brilliant. So she goes on to say, but on top of our simply observing in our neurocircuitry, we are capable of changing our thoughts and changing our brain. We have the ability to pick and choose what's going on inside our brain, our heads. We typically run 3 types of neurocircuitry. We think thoughts, we stimulate emotions and feel emotions, and we run physiological responses to what we are thinking and feeling. I have the ability to think a thought, stimulate an emotional circuit, and then run a physiological response to what I'm thinking. From the moment I think of a thought, if it's an angry thought, it stimulates my anger circuit, where I drown noradrenaline into my bloodstream. It flashes through me and flashes out of me. From the beginning of the thought to the time when my blood is clean of the chemistry, she says, takes less than 90 seconds. Wow. She calls it the 90-second rule, and I get that. If you have the ability to stay, for example, angry for longer than 90 seconds, well, here's proof. You're actually making it up. You are, in fact, re-stimulating the anger circuit that you just started in her example. And the re-stimulation, the physiological response, is how you stay angry for days. And I know people who are angry not for just for days, for weeks, for months, for years, because they keep playing that record in their mind over and over and over again, which she has just explained the neuroscience on how to get over it. The secret is in how our brains really work. Secret to success, how our brains really work. And I absolutely love it because she says we are, as humans, neurocircuitry. And you do not have the ability, person out there, to stimulate and trigger my circuitry without my permission. You cannot make me angry unless I stick my trigger out there and allow you to do so, for you to pound down on my neurocircuitry, which is what happens all the time. People give their power away because they've been influenced. They've been influenced by, peer pressure, advertising, media, fear-mongering, the news. Oh, my goodness, even the weather report sounds scary half the time, doesn't it? It's just like, wow. One of the big topics she does mention is abuse. And people are going through so much mental abuse, even to themselves right now, that it's really important we understand we can control this. We can allow certain things in, but then we choose how to process them. Because she goes on to say, if I give you my power, I become vulnerable to you, through manipulation, through those things I just talked about. Bottom line is we are our own neurocircuitry. So information streams in through our sensory systems. We have all these different senses that process information, and it aims for a direct inner group of cells in our limbic system. And the cells in the limbic system ask questions, moment by moment. So if you are afraid of something, it will ask you to talk to yourself. Am I safe? Am I safe? I feel safe when I have enough information streaming in through the sensory systems, because then it feels familiar. There it is. Familiarity, our comfort zone. What does that look like for you? Have you noticed any triggers that would cause discomfort? It's easier to identify these and rectify these for children than as adults, because the adults can see what's being triggered. Children, you never even learn how to do this, really, unless your mom's a neuroscientist, I guess. But Dr. Taylor speaks to this in quite a fascinating way. She says, when the world feels familiar, my amygdala is calm. and I feel safe. The interesting thing is that the information comes in and it stimulates my limbic system. My limbic system then sends that information throughout my nervous system, including my higher cortex. What this means is that although many of us think ourselves as thinking creatures who feel, biologically, we are really feeling creatures that think. How cool is that? How Macarena cool is that? When you really stop to think about it, when she says we are feeling creatures who think, and this becomes very significant the way we live in the external world. Information streams in and goes straight to the amygdala. New word for me. The amygdala says how much feels familiar. And if it feels familiar, then I can feel calm. When I feel calm, the cells right next to that, the hippocampus, turn on, and they are capable of learning and memory. So, I've spoken to this before. When you feel stressed, when you're stressed out, you can't create. You can't remember. You can't do. She goes on in her talk to speak about the analogy of taking a test, which absolutely all of us are completely familiar with, the test anxiety. And we know what that feels like. And then she goes on to say, the secret here, there's the other secret, is that I have a higher cortical thinking. I have the ability to consciously choose. Aha! There's that magic word. The secret is to know you have a choice. You choose what you're processing and how you're going to react to that. You have other circuits you can run, you can look around, you can take in new images, something to distract you, think about something different, relax, feel safe, stay calm. Because you know the answers, you do. It's in your hippocampus somewhere. You just have to calm down. And what's really interesting about her talk and really interesting about this secret to success is that we haven't known about this truly with medical proof, with scientific proof, with biological proof until the past, I'm going to say 10 years. So life's going to change, and it's going to change for the better, because her generations, she said, never knew about the 90-second rule. Behold, now we do. Now it can make a difference. And I personally wish I would have known about this rule. And because as it turned out, I just got lucky as a parent. I just had the instinct when I was raising my son to stay calm. And as a result, ensure that in 90 seconds or the time it takes to dance to a song, the initial frustration or anger or unfamiliarity was brought back into balance. I use this 90-second rule a lot myself. Sometimes I have to remind myself of this every day, once a week. I don't know, depends what's going on out there. And I have a little bit of different take on it, which is my third secret. And it's going to sound a little silly, but bear with me. The third secret is having the ability to count and not think of anything else but the numbers you are saying. And that's how I clear my mind, clear my thoughts. But it's super, super important that you don't keep that other loop going. Your mind's eye, I replay just the numbers. 1, 2, 3. And that's all I see in my mind's eye, and I'm counting out loud. So go in the bathroom, turn on a tap, go for a walk around the block. As long as you can count to yourself to 90, and only think of the numbers, it works for me. It resets me, and I don't stop until I've done it clear through 90 seconds. 90 seconds to success, which is also the name of my book. 90 Seconds to Success, Principles for Parenting. That's not coming out until the fall, but I speak to it in great detail in my book, and I'm going to speak about it again in the next episode in some additional information, because I think this mental health that our poor planet, our poor people, the world is going through this. We are all in this together. And this unfamiliar pandemic, this unfamiliar virus, we have to let it go. We have to get it out of our minds. We have to readjust. We have to be strong for our families, because we are all born with a gift. We are all born with purpose and neurocircuitry. Life's journey is to hone and develop that gift as purpose, and our brains change within. After all, there are more neurons in our brains than stars in the sky. How fantastic is that? I love my amygdala, and I'm starting to understand its connection to the hippocampus. And neuroscience, well, they're making great discoveries, and it's going to change our world for the better, and it's going to improve our mental health. Live well, work on your mental health, and try counting to 90. It's not a lot of time to plant a new seed and let go of that emotional loop. Get off that little hamster circle going around and around and around. In 90 seconds, you can do it. We are neurocircuitry. We have the power within us, the secret to success, and it's all up in our beautiful minds. So live well. I'll see you next week.